I'm going to cry vengeance. That's what I'm going to do tonight. Tonight is going to be an oath of vengeance.
You guys hear that? Tonight is going to be an oath of vengeance. Hello, we're here.
My family will be avenged.
Oh my word, this is intense. I'm getting nervous. Mike's making me nervous. He's got a fever.
That's okay, because once I hear cowbell, it's going to subside.
I don't know what this.
Tone it down. It's going to be okay.
I don't know what this cowbell you speak of is. I've got this nice Rothbell.
Rothbell.
He's got a fever for
Rothbell.
more
I thought
Rothbell. I love
Not
it.
the underdog. I don't know. I guess they're not. I don't even know if cows exist in Abrea or Erkengard.
Well,
or
cows do
for that
not
matter.
exist in Erkengard, and
But
that's
I guess
probably...
you start saying goat bells because goats were killed. I remember that. They had a goat herd, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a goat herd. That's correct. You do know we're live, Mike, right? Hello, studio audience. Hello.
Well, then at least I told a couple of good jokes.
You told
realizing
terrific jokes. John's camera shrank on me again. Oh boy, here we go. We're technically adjusting on the fly. Watch this. Watch the magic happen.
Magical powers.
Magic.
Blam.
Wow.
Okay, cool. How is
I
everyone?
didn't think we had enlarge in our spell list. That was pretty cool.
That's just me.
Nice.
That's the DM
Not
spell
yet.
list. How are you guys doing? How is everyone?
Good.
Ari, it's Ari Ferrari. Ari Ferrari's great. Ari Ferrari, how are you, sir? Xanatos, our man. Xanatos, I love you, man. Thank you.
Love you, Zan.
So welcome, friends, to episode 2 of Firelight Tales, Titans Heirs. How are you guys all doing? You psyched? Mike's got a fever. What about the rest of you?
I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, it just ramped up, 1,000-fold in the last 2 minutes of play last week.
Yeah.
That's good. That means I did my job, right?
Stress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looking forward to the destruction of our childhood.
Oh my God.
Die.
I'm
Please.
like, I'm like trying to cover the crime scene. Like, don't let nobody better see this. Get everything. Shoot. 6 of them go flying overhead. You're like, oh crap, forget it. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
20 flying over our head.
I like my numbers. It makes me feel a little better. But we can go with
It was
yours,
a
I guess.
dozen. It was an even dozen. This is a good point. First of all, let's just. Geez, John, you're gonna keep me working tonight, man. Okay, we're 3 minutes in. This was the 4-3 adjustment. Let's see how long it sticks. How are you guys all doing tonight? Everybody's psyched? You're all doing good? Nope, 5.
Nothing's free.
Nope.
Yeah, we're doing good. Mike has a fever, but I think the rest of us are pretty healthy.
Okay, that's good. In these times especially, it's very good. 6. Here's 6.
Yeah.
Is this a wild magic stone? Is that what's causing all of
I
this?
don't know. I think it's about camera resolution, but I'm going to monitor it very closely, and I will lose control of it at some point pretty soon here, I'm sure.
I'm against resolutions, so...
I like my camera continually changing and distracting Rich in some capacity because it gives us just that little bit of a fighting chance against a dozen wyverns.
So, in other words, like in Always Sunny language, you're the wild card, John? Is that what's happening?
It's my camera, actually. That's the wild card. But
baby.
Well, you know what? John just answered my question that I was going to ask the party. Like, what are we going to do? Well, it looks like John's vote is to go against those 12 wyverns.
Well, I mean, we can't.
Yeah,
you have
we're
to at
not
least see who
doing
we
that.
can rescue, right? I mean, you can't just abandon the town and be like, well, all right,
All right.
guys.
I think that
mean,
we've officially got the cart in front of the horse. Let me rein this thing in a little bit. In front of the Roth. I apologize. There are no horses in Erkengard either. So my compatriots are all fired up, so I'm going to try to cut to the quick of things. Welcome, everybody. There are 11 people out there, probably. 6 of them are not us. Thank you so much. Bottom of my heart, I really appreciate having you here. These are my dear friends, some of my absolute dearest friends in the world. Let's have you introduce yourselves real quick to the people. Top left, the man with the cow.
Me. I was trying to make a moo pun, but I was like, I'm not there yet. I'm Kurt Clark. Here with bells on.
Why don't you tell everybody what you're playing tonight? Let's just go over your characters again quick, even though the information's all right here.
Oh, I am playing very fast and loose tonight. That's what I'm playing tonight.
Goddamn
No,
right.
I am playing Angus Brighthorn, a Minotaur bard of the College of Valor. So he's all about the epic tales of heroes and might and lore and legend, and he never lets the truth get in the way of good story. Try and encourage this little band of misfits to be the best little set of heroes they can be, because that's how you end up in the storybooks.
Nice. I love it. I love that you're all about the embellishment of the tales of old. It's really good stuff. What about the man in the fairy forest below you?
Who's
That's
that?
you.
I'm a man.
Are you?
Awesome.
I'm sorry.
I love it. Never been called a man before.
You're the man.
But,
You're the man,
how-
Mike. Let's get it right.
Oh, no. I think I'm like one of the three here in this room right now. What would you like to know, Richard? Sorry, I got so overwhelmed.
Why don't you introduce yourself to the folks and tell them what you're playing tonight?
Oh, okay. So I'm Mike, and I have been playing D&D for too many years. We'll say over 2 decades, and I really love it, and I'm really happy to be here with everyone. Everyone's really cool, and I am playing an Urchinasi named Krixus Copperstone that has some interesting draconic features appearing throughout his body. And yes, I do have curly hair, auburn curly hair with copper veins running throughout my body.
He's a very interesting looking individual, to say the least.
I have turquoise eyes, by the way, just to let everybody know. I have turquoise eyes that shine very brightly, especially in Month of Mischief, because I tend to like to look through bags and pouches and things like that, looking for goodies.
It's awesome. Scaled with a long tail, draconic feet and claws, yet almost as though he's forged of earth with these bright turquoise eyes. What lineage is this strange creature of? It's really a fascinating question. What about the lady of the house?
I'm Taylor. I'm playing Eerie Silverspark, who is a wizard gnome, lore master wizard specifically. She too she's the smallest of the group at like about 3 feet tall. Crazy messy short red hair. Usually has her little lore master hat on, sweater, her staff at her side, her spell book on her hip, and her little squirrel familiar Denon always there to keep her company. She is confident, she is knowledgeable. She's the wizard of the
She sure
group.
is. Tiny, formidable, brimming with knowledge, and a tiny squirrel masquerading as a chipmunk. It's really a wonderful package. You gotta love it. What about the man with the ever-shifting camera in the bottom right?
To see this camera.
Yeah, I just catch it periodically.
It's
as you
cool.
tweak
I'm
it. But
monitoring
anyway,
it 24/7 at this point. Yeah.
that's it. Are you staring longingly into my eyes right now?
There it is. You did it again. You son of a...
I think it's the rapid movements. It seems to be like when I move my hands
I'm
like this.
glad
or move,
that
it does that. But
I'm glad
Oh
we
my
test
God.
streamed this for a month so I could get everything right before we went live.
Nice. All right. Well, the game. My name is John. I'm playing Hulric Stormbeard. Hulric is a champion fighter, and he tends to stand up for the people who can't stand up for themselves because of circumstances from his past that affected him, that make him want to help those because he was helped. So, and that's why we're going to run towards the wyverns, because we're going to go help people.
That's awfully sneaky, making group decisions during the prologue.
I like it too.
Yes.
That was a power move.
Technically speaking, I was making decisions for myself, and I'm hoping the rest of you will follow me. But
feels like a power move. So, for the sake of our audience, we're on episode 2 of Firelight Tales, the Titans. There's these 4 individuals: Angus Brighthorn, Eerie Silverspark, Krixus Copperstone, Hulric Stormbeard, are raised in the village of Erkengard. It's a hidden village, a secret place, high and hidden in the peaks of the Drakencaern Mountains. A vast, sprawling mountain range comparable to the Himalayas that we might know. in a kingdom called the Sapphire Dynasty, a kingdom ruled by a kind of god queen, an empress, who literally grants miracles to her devout worshippers. Virago, mother of storms, a blue dragon of ancient and unknowable age and immeasurable power. And so the people of Erkengard have resided in this place for the last 1,000 years, ever since the Great War that brought the rise of these dynasties that cover the world. Erkengard is an interesting place with interesting peoples. It is not a village that you or I might recognize, but rather it is built in the bones of ruins from the first age, the dawn of civilization in the world of Abrea, a time when titans walked the world and war was a thing of story and legend, and a short window where violence had not yet marred this new world. And so, after the Great War, the Second Arrival, it is called by some historians and sages, many such villages as Abrea appeared around the world as the 5 great dynasties rose up and began to rule the people that they subjugated after these battles. Erkengard, in the bones of these ruins high in the mountains, is a place with no human beings. Rather, the ruined streets of this broken, ancient place are walked by dwarves and gnomes, by Minotaur and Dragonborn. There is a noble lineage of Earth Genasi, those beings whose bloodline is mingled with the bloodline of genies, the Tao of the inner planes. And there are stranger creatures yet. There are ogres who work and eat and live alongside the gnomes and the dwarves, and alongside those ogres are the ogre magi, larger and stranger still than their dim-witted cousins. And then there are the Alagi, like Sasquatch, but with long, heavy horns on their heads. Their coats shift with the changing of the seasons, and they generally reside on the slopes of the mountain around this village. And so these 4 are all considered youths by the other 100 or so souls that call Erkengard home. They're affectionately treated as mascots. They have been loved, though certainly not pampered, for this is a hard place in the world and only the hard survive here. This village has remained hidden for 1,000 years because of stringent guidelines in the way they live. They live small, they live quietly, they live secretively. They're careful about burning fires in open skies because the Sapphire Legion, the army of the Sapphire Dynasty, is known to use wyverns, a type of lesser dragon, as mounts, and they scour the countryside searching for these hidden hamlets and vales where people try to live forgotten by their imperial overlords. And so it was that on this fateful night, early in the spring, as the 4 of you watched the hunting party leave to follow the ibex herds and were left behind because of your age, because of the care that the villagers place on you, wyverns attacked. You discovered one flying low in the clouds, and it spotted you moments after you spotted it. A quick, short fight, a crossbow bolt well aimed by the dwarf, magics conjured by Krixus Copperstone, killed the rider of this wyvern. And with that, the beast turned, vanishing back into the storm clouds that had just erupted around the 4 of you. And as rain pours buckets from the sky, intermittent flashes of lightning pierce blue light through the clouds, and thunder cracks and peals across the mountaintops, the 4 of you find yourself looking to Ulrich Stormbeard as he makes his case to race back for the village. What say you, adventurers?
Eerie,
Well, I
like,
think.
Oh, go
Well,
ahead.
we're still dealing with the body down the cliff, right?
You
Or
had,
the
in fact.
incredibly
So
steep
after
hillside.
after shooting the rider off the back of this wyvern, Ulrich came racing to the edge of the precipice. Not a full cliff, but a steep, sloping fall. And about 20 or so feet down lay the broken corpse of a creature that none of you have ever seen before, I do not believe. Ulrich may have in the village that he was born in before he came to Erkengard, but assuredly there are no human beings in Erkengard. And so Eerie, Angus, Krixus, you see this creature, not entirely strange, perfectly recognizable to the five of us, but quite foreign to these young adventurers. A human.
I think Krixus and I are up on the top of the cliff, so we probably don't have as good of a view. So
What kind of armor is this
He was
creature wearing?
Yep, he
Blue,
was wearing
wasn't
a
it?
type of scale mail. It was all metal scales, not actual hide scales that have been painted blue, a bright kind of blue. He has a short sword at his belt that's still like tethered there, and a dagger at the same belt on the other hip. He had a bow and some arrows, but they're shattered and broken from his fall from the sky.
Eerie would she have like read about
Absolutely,
humans?
yeah.
Or like,
I mean, Ursula walked the world once, your mentor, and so you would have known about humans. You could recognize it for what it is.
yeah. Yeah, she kind of like takes her large witch like lore master hat off and kind of like dumps the rainwater out. And like looks at Ulrich and is like, this is a human.
So, the thing down there, is it still alive?
No, it's definitely dead.
I think
Completely broken.
Those 12 wyverns that
Yeah,
flew-
we saw them. I think that's definitely the focus right now.
Yeah, we
pulling
need to
on
like go.
Angus's like cloak or whatever, his clothing, and I'm like, the wyverns, they're heading to the village. Oh no, we have to do something or
Help us up, pull us up.
I think Ulrich just takes the body and just like casts it down further. You know what I mean? Just throws it.
It starts
I mean, he's got
rolling and cartwheeling. This very
he's got a 17 strength. You should be able to get some decent.
He's lighter than you, so you heave this corpse and it crashes down into the scree and the rock, the rubble underneath, and it begins cartwheeling in this macabre scene down the hill, vanishing in the rain and the rubble out of sight.
I never thought I'd actually see some dwarf tossing.
Way to invert stereotypes, Ulrich. I dig it, man.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Well, that's what this dwarf tossing I've heard
Look at
about
this
so
dude
much is, eh?
subverting expectations on episode 2.
Yeah, Eerie's like tugging on the rope, like
I start pulling up Eerie right away. Like if you
No,
need me to
you are
roll
a very
athletics, do
powerful
double
individual,
trick.
Krixus. You're strong, and so Eerie is light, and like a feather, you're able to easily fist over fist, hand over hand, the rope coiling in quickly next to you. Eerie, you're like almost skipping the balls of your feet, bouncing off the rock under you, trying to keep up with the pace that Krixus sets as he pulls you up, and you take yourself to the edge, finding yourself at the top of the precipice.
okay.
Eerie.
One more. See Ulrich waving from down below.
I cut the rope. So we go. No, I'm just kidding.
So, leaving the dwarf tosser behind.
Yes. I'm pulling everybody up as soon as I'm
We
pulling
see
Ulrich up double time
Krixus
if I have
throw
to.
the
But
rope
he's
back
heavier,
out,
so
right, and it trails through the air, falling. Ulrich snatching it before it even hits the ground. And Krixus, youthful though he may be, with his inquisitive, bright turquoise eyes, are fierce and determined as his muscles bulge, corded in strength, and he pulls you up, Ulrich, one foot after another, your heavy boots finding purchase, and you take the ground, and we hear yet another peal of thunder, lightning illuminating the clouds behind you, and I think you could just make out in the distance the last shadowy silhouettes of these wyverns trailing away towards Erkengard.
what are we gonna do? What
Run.
are we gonna do? There's so many
Run.
wyverns.
We need to go.
There's many of them.
Let us head into the village.
Yeah, let's
I think we got to do
time
that.
it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I may need somebody to drag me along.
How
I put
we're
Yuri
about
off my shoulders then.
how
Okay,
far are we?
about an hour
Like
and a
an
half,
hour?
a little over an hour. And so, Krixus, you scoop Eerie up and set her on your shoulder quickly. And the four of you, having traversed these grounds all your lives, you begin to hustle. You're moving as quick as you can. It's late in the afternoon. The clouds, thick gray, the thunder booming, rain pouring on you, lightning flashing. But you race along the roth trails, along the goat trails, over ridges, under rises, cutting through the valleys between the peaks as you're carving your way back to Erkengard. You know, far to the north on the hillside is the Alagi camp. You wonder what transpires there, but your eyes are set towards the village, and so you begin to race.
Do we, based on like what we know about the kind of the position and location of the Alagi camp, do we think that they probably also saw this as well, like based on where they were at, based where the wyverns were at?
The Alagi are tuned with nature. These strange Sasquatch-like beings are as aware of the environment as any people in Erkengard that you know, so you think that there's a good chance. They're not likely to be caught fully unawares, at least. A small consolation, perhaps. So, as a lot of you are racing, okay, you cover ground, quiet, no words exchanged between you, rain pouring, thunder booming, lightning flashing, and as you find yourself closing to about within half a mile of the village, you hear...
No, I'm going to say something rich. I mean, doing this like because we're taking
Yeah,
like over
let's
an
say
hour
45
or an hour or
minutes.
so
This
to
is
get
45
there.
minutes to get you to where you're going to be, but yes, yeah.
I mean, I'm not like having a hard like a conversation. I'm just going to be mentioning to Eerie because she's on my shoulders. I'm really worried, Eerie. I'm really worried. I don't know what's going to happen.
I sort of like.
I think
like-
Rogosh said something to me. Rogosh whispered something in my head. He told me something. I think he forewarned me of this.
What did he say? What did he say?
He said that now it's time. Now it's time for us to become adults.
Happy bar mitzvah!
Mazel tov.
I'm only 12 years old.
Eerie like pats his shoulder and is like, I'm worried too, and maybe it is time, but we need to be prepared for what we might see. So just stay strong.
Luckily, so those wyverns there, they seem pretty big, and most of our folks are underground and stuff. So I'm thinking that the wyverns may not be able to actually get to where a bulk of the people remaining are. So maybe it's just we may be lucky on that front.
I hope so. But they came from the direction of that the hunters were going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what worries
The
me.
hunting party having left
Whoa.
just moments before you all were ambushed by a displacer beast, the wyverns came from that direction.
Trying not to think about that.
Hopefully they can get through the mountain. You know, I mean, there was that pass through the mountain out the other side. Hopefully they'd be able to, get out in front of the handful.
Hopefully.
Krixus, as kind of quiet falls amongst your friends while you're racing for a moment, I think you hear the heavy voice in your mind. Are you afraid?
I'm afraid for you.
This is not your druid, son.
Oh, this is very difficult, I say. You have to keep a steady voice. I don't know which one's talking to me. So many voices in my head. All the time. Am I afraid? Should I be afraid of something? What do you know that I don't know? Tell me, Father. Father, don't keep me in the dark about what's going on. These are people that I love and care for.
There is no time to tell. Remember what they taught you. What do you do when the storms come? When the winds blow strong, and the lightning breaks, and rain pours in rivers off the mountains? gather in shelter with those whom you love. You burn the fires hot, and you weather the storm. You must be strong.
I will, Father. I will be strong. I will weather the storm. With your words that guide me, I will take this challenge
You have
on.
all you need. And those with you right now.
I'm saying this out loud, by the way. Everyone, I'm like just talking out loud.
I was going to ask. I couldn't
Looking at
remember if this was inner monologue or outer monologue.
So Krixus
out of
is like
monologue.
speaking out loud. This is like half of the conversation, as you don't hear anything I'm saying, the rest of you, right? But I think as he's saying that to him, Krixus, he says, you have all that you need, and the companions at your side.
Yuri kind of like leans down. Krixus, who are you
Good
talking
news.
to?
Father has spoken to me. He says that we have all that we need to take on this challenge. Although he wasn't laughing this time, so I'm a little worried. Usually he laughs and
Okay.
chuckles and tells jokes and things and riddles as well that I don't understand myself. But he's made me feel secure. I think that we have a chance. We have to find shelter. We have to seek out the villagers. They could be hidden. Angus was right.
Is there a way into the cave system? Like, do we have to come over the ridge into the town, or can we come up through the mountain?
I was
There's a
just gonna ask
few
that.
separate entrances to caves that will get you down into the village. You don't have to go like right towards kind of this central square, right? 80.
Because if I have to deal with either wyverns and riders, or just riders, I think I would rather deal with just riders.
A very good decision, probably. But so to that point, as you guys are closing in to about a half a mile within the village, God, this camera. Okay. as you're
I'm
closing,
sorry,
no, it's
man,
not
I'm
you.
doing
As you're
anything.
closing to about half a mile, yes.
Rich, as we're getting closer, I'm definitely actively scanning the skies
Okay.
for these wyverns
Gotcha.
and looking around,
Yeah.
telling everybody we should be looking in the skies or even the horizon line just to see where these flying creatures are with the pointy tails.
Okay. Why don't you all make perception checks?
Okay. Average.
Oh.
Hey!
Oh.
Oh,
The rain gets in my eyes,
Okay.
and I can't see a thing. It's terrible.
Erie with the 10, Kurt with the natural 20, Angus 20,
Nice.
Krixus with the critical 1, and Hulrick with the 15. So, as you're closing in now, scanning the sky, looking anxious, nervous, frantic almost, Krixus, you're a little overwhelmed. The rain is splattering in your eyes. You're so like stressed and concerned. The voice in your head unlike the way he usually is, but you hear the sounds, distant though they may be, of screeching. You hear the crashing and rumbling of stone. You hear sounds of roaring flame, and distant on the wind, just muffled underneath the sound of the rain. You hear cries of pain. But I think that
No.
as you're peering in the air, you see wyverns. You see 2 of them wheel out of the clouds suddenly, taking no notice of you, turning sharply as they pitch back in towards the direction of Erkengard, screams following right behind them. And as you race further down the trail, looking for one of these entrances that you know is right nearby to lead you down into the depths of the village where many of the residences are, Angus, Hulrick, you catch sight of what looks like 2 silhouettes, man-sized figures. Lightning flashes. You see the reflection of the blue armor, and you see another third shape with them. Looks like a dog, massive, hulking. No, 2 dogs. No, it's 1 dog with 2 massive heads, and they appear to be like racing along down the trails. The dog with its two heads to the ground, noses scenting hard in the rain. The scouts peering and looking actively, it seems like. What do you guys want to do?
I get in the cave.
Oh, God. I just like tug at Yuri and like, tell me what to do.
Are we near one of the cave entrances?
Yes,
or
Ulrich.
not?
Unfortunately, the scouts and their death dog are in between you and it. And one of the scouts like turns and you see him raise a hand, blocking the rain, leaning towards you, and suddenly the dogs howl.
Firebolt.
Yeah, where's your disposable meat suit?
Both heads howl. Do they make use of like the same set of lungs? I'm just trying to figure out. Like,
Erie
What?
probably
How this
knows
works.
the answer to that. You should consult
Probably
with her
you know
later.
that question.
Are you relating it to cow anatomy? Is that why you have it behind you?
what is this cow you speak of?
Really? How dare you?
I'm sorry.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're rolling initiative.
I'm
eh?
rolling initiative.
Yeah.
You guys don't have to. I can just go first. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I just want to say I don't have a token. to
Oh,
click on,
I
so-
apologize.
Yes, you have tokens.
How terrible of me. I don't.
Yeah. That just means when I hear for the battle.
I actually
we're
don't
fine.
have tokens
Everything's fine.
either,
Everything's
but I'm pulling it off. Okay, here we go. You ready? There you go. They're up in the top left.
Well, there they are.
Getting
Okay.
coffee right now.
How adorable.
Oh, great. Great. Good start. 7 is a lucky number, right?
6
9,
is even
16,
luckier.
and 6.
Great.
Get him out of the way now.
Yeah, really.
And 6 on the death dog. Okay, you guys all in there?
I think so.
This is
Yeah.
Krixus.
I
Click your
rolled.
token, reroll,
Oh.
fix it up.
All right, I clicked on it. I must have unclicked it.
For those of you out
Oh,
here
well.
who don't
All right.
play a lot of D&D, we're using this virtual tabletop. It's called Roll20. It's a pretty useful little program that we're able to use, and it's got all the initiative and the character sheets, all the dice output you're seeing over on the right side in the chat. You're not seeing it now because John's camera's on it, but all that stuff is actually the outfeed from Roll20. It's a great little tool to be able to do what we're doing. Which is play D&D online remotely, you know, like this is a total sidebar and maybe killing the drama, but Mike and John and I played D&D together in person for years when we were in high school. Kurt, meanwhile, is out in Michigan. You know, Taylor lives near me. Mike's downstate. John's. We're all in different places, and this is a great way to be able to connect and bring us together. It's part of what I love about this hobby is like having an excuse to hang out with my friends for 3 hours at a time every week. So, to that end,
How to survive.
catchphrase 19, Krixus Copperstone. Despite your fear, your anxiety, your uncertainty, despite you're looking to Eerie for leadership, you act first. What would you like to do? These two scouts and the dog are all standing right kind of on top of each other in a like, you know, kind of a triangle, and they're about 60 feet away from you. 50, I apologize, 50 feet. I have notes here.
So
50.
you said 60 feet? 50 feet, 60 feet. What I do is I'm going to cast Magic Stone. And
Yes.
I'm gonna put that in the
Magic
chat.
Stone. Yeah, awesome. Do it.
Of course, there's no saving throw for that. I don't know why it says spell saving throw. And then I'm going to use those stones
Okay.
for my sling.
Excellent. So as a bonus action, you snatch some pebbles out of your pouch at your belt, whispering a prayer over them. You feel them infused with the power of Father, and you slip one into the sling.
And I'm going to make an attack. Was that okay to put it in the chat? I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
mean
great to put in the chat. Please, when you cast,
All right,
definitely
trying to
do
figure-
it. Go for it. 15 hits. You spin your sling, firing. What are you attacking, actually? Let's clarify here.
I'm attacking one of the two-headed
Excellent.
dogs.
So you fire at the two-headed dog. A 15 does in fact hit. Go ahead and roll damage.
Do I roll this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Cool.
And just to clarify, Rich, there is just a single two-headed
there's
dog.
two scouts, one dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the
Thank
magic
goodness.
stone flies from the sling, sailing through the air, cutting through the rain, cracking into the dog, and you hear one of the heads like whimper. That was a terrible dog whimper. What happened there? And the other one though is like
It is a death dog.
the second death dog head is pissed for 7 points of bludgeoning, 8 points of bludgeoning damage. Krixus, that's your action. That's your bonus action. You have movement.
I guess I'm going to ask Eerie if you want me to put her. Should I put you down, Eerie, or do you want me to move forward, or?
Sure, yeah, you can put me down. Yeah.
Why are we putting Eerie down? She's doing
Yeah, really.
so well.
Let's build Eerie up for once. Jeez.
Let's elevate the food. Something can swoop in
Eerie is really small.
and take her.
She's
like
really
we always
small.
do.
Well, I mean, putting her closer to the ground means that she's closer to the dog, but that's what I do. Whatever Eerie wants me to do, I do. So I take her down.
Considerable pontification during the combat round. You place her down. You get to hold your ground. Okay.
Yes. Well, I mean, I could do more.
I mean, you could move. You could continue moving. You still have your movement, right? I'm just trying to gauge. Are you going closer to them, or are you holding your ground? Okay.
I'm gonna hold my
To
ground
that,
at this moment. I figured I just took her. I just did that, and then I just took her and I
place
placed
her
her
on the
on the
ground
ground.
at your side, and to that end, the first scout brings his bow up and fires, and then a second arrow at you, Krixus. 16 and 9. Does 16 hit?
16 definitely
An
hits.
arrow sailing back at you in return fire to your sling. You take 6 points of piercing damage as it like lashes across your shoulder. You feel it like gouging, shattering some of the stony scales there.
Okay.
Ulrich, what's your dex? You go
18,
before
baby.
the scout. You're up.
Now, what do the scouts look like? I mean, are they in more of that blue
Absolutely.
armor?
You see that the,
Do they seem to be more sized like the human we just met? That the one that was. So they seem to be humans.
They do not
alright.
have the same headgear on. The Wyvern Rider had like a leather hood with these lenses, right? These fellows do not.
Right.
In the heavy rain, like one of them seems to be wearing like a leather cap, but as you're peering at them, they're both about the same size as the human. They're definitely not dwarves or gnomes. They're not minotaurs. They're not Krixus. They're nothing like you. And so one of them, the one with the leather cap, like it's hard to kind of see his face, but the other one you see wears no helm or hat and has just pointed ears that you can make out as you like narrow your eyes peering at them through the rain, and a flash of lightning behind them kind of shows you the sharp silhouette.
Okay.
But they are both wearing that same blue scale mail.
So, but we've never seen any of these creatures before,
We've
right?
not seen-
I mean, other than the familiarity of a dog, right? I mean, all right. So I think you just hear Ulrich yell out. He's like, "Ignore the two ugly beasts and focus on the dog." You know, so. And I think I can't cover that kind of ground, right? So I'm definitely, you just see him come off his back with his crossbow and aim for the dog. So I just, not even having not seen him, I just think something with two heads is going to close a lot of ground quick and get double
four
the
legs.
attacks.
It's a good thought.
So,
Yeah.
All right.
So crossbow to his shoulder.
Did it not attack? Yeah.
9 misses solidly. Between the rain and the wind, the crossbow bolt just goes wide. That's your attack. Ulrich, you have movement and a bonus action.
I'm gonna move out in front of the group, just like to be the first person out there in case something
like
comes.
10 feet forward, right? You're putting them a bit behind you.
Yeah, I mean, I know I don't have much of a visual here, so yeah, I just want to be out in front, and then I'm gonna put my crossbow away and take out my Warhammer, expecting that they'll close ground.
Sure,
Can I do
bonus
that?
action still.
If I have to cast,
it's fine. You still have your bonus action. We'll say like you drop
crossbow.
the crossbow to the hook on your belt, snap the warhammer up, and you're like holding your ground, ready for them to close. You're Ulrich standing now 10 feet out in front of Krixus and Eerie, with Angus just like a step behind them. Ulrich, that was your turn. As you take the lead, the second scout raises his bow, and he proceeds to fire twice at you, the dwarf in the front. 12 and 7. Those both miss, right? Okay.
Miss.
We see you like duck out of the way of one arrow. The second one like ding deflects off your chainmail to no avail. And then you see him like lowering his bow, and he starts like fumbling around with his offhanded something at his belt. Eerie Vandrin, you're up on 7.
Oh shit.
Okay, so we've got this like triangle of people and dog.
And the dog's like in motion, right? It's
are
beginning to barrel towards you guys, but yeah.
Okay. Are they within a 10-foot radius?
Of each other? Yes.
Can I?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Eerie, great.
Yeah.
Love it. So Eerie is like, she looks around to Ulrich and points her staff and like repeats what she did in the last battle, and kind of like something fires from her staff, but you don't see it. And then like there's a loud ringing sound coming from where the enemies are headed, and she casts Shatter.
Nice.
This like ringing shatter explodes around them. Con save DC 14. What do I got here? Death Dog. Scouts. Ooh.
Yes!
That's a whole lot of failed
Nice.
saving throws.
Yes!
So it's 13 points of damage for all of them.
Sorry,
You
puppy.
hear the dog like, oh, howling now in pain. And you hear the sounds of the two soldiers like, ah, as they take like this explosive damage around them. That's pretty brutal. Eerie, that's your action. You have movement and a bonus action. Okay,
She'll
Eerie
stay.
stands her ground next to her little brother Krixus. Angus Brighthorn, you're up on 6.
If I cast a spell that was in a 5-foot cube, would I be able to get the death dog and one other?
I think technically no. Like, we're not on a map, but if we were on a map, it would just be a square, right? We usually rule that way. Does that sound right?
No.
Well, no, the last time we actually did it, but that's fine. Then
We did. That was true, actually. No, that was true. Last time we did.
Okay,
other
it is
games
true.
we
Other
did.
games we did. You
But
know what? You got backup, Kurt. You got it. You could definitely hit 2 of them. I think it's fair.
Yeah, we hit the 2
I
owl
do
bears
recall.
with a single one of these before. So I am going to, Angus is going to cast Cloud of Daggers, getting the Death Dog and the one of the 2.
Okay.
Plain
I think
folk,
if
as
you
these
don't
things.
hit the bubble, it should like dump out the actual damage, right? If you actually just click the name itself, but go for it. I will roll saving throws. Like the dialogue bubble gives us that.
It doesn't say anything about the saving throw, though. I don't believe there is one in the spell description.
I don't think there is. Oh, you're right.
Oh, sorry. Interesting. The I have to roll the damage manually because it
it's not
isn't
loaded as
programmed
attack.
in.
Okay, my bad.
No, it's fine.
Oh.
12 points.
Okay.
So yeah, this cube that looks like it's made up of hundreds of tiny spinning daggers in a 5-foot by 5-foot by 5-foot cube appears, both kind of clipping the. Well, they don't take this damage until their turn.
But it
Just
appears
note
this is
that.
all happening lightning fast. So that's your action.
Yeah.
You have movement and a bonus action.
I will move up and stand next to
Okay.
Ulrich.
With that, your turn is up, Angus. The death dog goes. It, like, barreling through or out of the cloud of daggers, I should say. You, like, see the knives, like, slashing and carving at the back of the thing's flank as it comes barreling towards you. Its movement speed is, yup, exactly. So it's going to use its full movement. It's going to use its action to dash. On the bonus action at the end of its charge, it's going to take a bite at poor Ulrich, who's out in front.
Gosh.
22. One of the heads gets a piece of you, Ulrich.
All
I
right.
need you to make a DC 12 Constitution saving throw. You take 4
All
points
right.
of piercing damage as this thing grabs you low underneath your knee. You make your save, yanking your leg out of the thing's mouth. You feel like flesh shred
Nice.
under its teeth. It's painful, but not the worst thing that's ever happened to you. With that, you're squared up with the death dog. That is its turn. Krixus, you're up on 19.
Oh no. Could you, Rich? Could you put the dog? Does it matter where the dog is on the
dog?
roll 20?
Okay, so you're
map,
ready,
or-
Mike? Like, you're standing shoulder to shoulder with Eerie. Angus is right behind you.
Well,
Yeah. And then
Okay.
10
No,
feet in front of
okay.
you is Ulrich, and the dog is, like, right on top of Ulrich.
So I'd maneuver myself. All right. So I'm just gonna maneuver myself behind the dog and attack the dog with my warhammer.
So you, like, let the sling slide out of your hand as you grab the warhammer. Even you could grab the warhammer with the sling loose in your hand, and you roll around behind, flanking against it with Ulrich.
That's exactly what I want to do. Yay.
Oh, tell me when you roll. Tell me when you roll. This is good practice for you guys to see the
I'm
numbers. That's
sorry.
okay. That's okay.
The number was 24, and the
8
damage
points of
was
bludgeoning
8.
damage. You wheel around behind it and just, like, crack. You're able to, like, smash it solidly at its flank as you get around the side. It is still up. Krixus, that was your movement, your action. You have a bonus action.
My bonus action is.
Okay,
I'm
got
okay
it.
right
You
now.
are okay. You're better than okay. You're awesome. On 16,
Say that.
this
I'm
scout
actually
is like,
horrible.
"Ah!" as the cloud of daggers begin, like, yeah.
Oh wait, Rich. I want to do one. You know what? Those guys, if they're two of those strange creatures
Yeah.
with bows. Okay, you know what I do? I do have a bonus action, and I'm going to do a spiritual
Okay.
weapon on one of them. And my
nice.
spiritual weapon is sort of like a miniature dragon, and it attacks, I guess, one of them. And that's what happens. And I rolled a 12.
You
I
guys
guess
hear
I
my
missed.
loud, obnoxious cat just yelling. Pinky is sitting here like, rah, rah. He wants in on this fight,
Aw.
man.
Yay!
It's a dog.
Pinky.
Oh,
Oh,
Hey, so which one of the scouts was caught in the
Okay, bear
storm,
with me.
the
We're
storm
sliding
attack?
backwards. We're all over time. So,
Okay.
Krixus does, in fact, use his bonus action. He rolls a 12. The spiritual weapon does not hit. You see the scout duck out of the way. This scout goes on 16. He screams as the cloud of daggers, like, cut him down, shredding him to pieces. He drops.
Compost.
You are up, Ulrich, on 9.
All right. Which one was fumbling at its belt?
This one. The only one who's left. The other scout's dead. The death dog's on top of you. As you peer over this massive two-headed dog at your feet, you smell its breath, rancid, sick, and diseased. The rot rolling out every time it exhales at you. But you see the guard 50 feet away, reaching a horn not dissimilar to your friend Angus's, which he has pulled loose from his belt and is, like, bringing up. What would you like to do?
No.
Man, it's really gonna screw me, but I'm gonna two-handed throw the warhammer at him.
Yeah. Oh, please.
It's gonna leave
What's
me
the
with
range on your
nothing.
Warhammer? It's 2060, I think. 3060.
I gotta be honest, I do not know the range
Damn
of a Warhammer.
you! Let's check it out real quick. I'm pretty sure it's 2060.
I think the range is nearest battle.
I'm pretty sure it's 2060. There's a moment that like I don't necessarily need to look it up, but let's look it up because I feel like it's going to be relevant later.
2060.
See,
2060. You're right.
so you're 40 feet away from him. The question is, do you charge to the end of your movement and throw it so you don't have disadvantage, or do you throw it from where you are?
Okay. Yeah,
so-
I will. Which is going to get the attack opportunity.
Okay. Yep.
Got
Death
this.
dog. The death dog
It's
tries
fine.
to get a piece of you as you charge. The hammer up over
Got
your
this.
head. 8. The death dog is like bites for you, the other mouth, and you just like snap your boot out, kicking it in the jaw, crack, as you charge past it. The hammer coming up over your head like woof. Go ahead and attack. And we watch everybody transfixed for a moment as the hammer cartwheels end over end. And you see
13.
the guard like duck as it rolls right over him. Crack! Into a boulder, clattering down. You lose sight of it behind him in the rain and the chaos of all of this. Like, uh-oh.
Maybe it'll buy me a moment where he won't blow the hammer, blow the horn this round.
That's your
so
movement.
it's
That's
all
your
right.
action. You have a bonus action? Anything?
No, man, that's it. I used it last battle with the last wyvern.
The horn comes to his lips and he begins trumpeting, muffled though it is by the rain. Thunder exploding around you, but the guard blows his trumpet. Eerie, Vandrin, you're up on 7.
Okay. I guess my attention snaps to the horn. And how far away
He
is
is
this
50
guy?
feet from you. You haven't moved any closer.
Okay. I will use. Am I in melee with the death
No,
dog?
you're like 10 feet back from where Ulrich was, so the death dog's like 10 feet away from you.
Okay. Is there a way I can get within 30 feet of the guard without getting into the death dog's melee range?
Small though you may be,
Okay.
you like are able to start darting around, and Krixus is still on this dog, right? Krixus has his warhammer, his sling hanging loose out of the hand that he's clutching it with, and so you're able to like dart quickly, and I think we see Krixus move protectively, and you weave around him, cutting around the death dog, charging. Your full movement is 25 feet. That puts you 25 feet away from this guard as he's like blowing on the horn.
Okay. All right, I just throw my staff out and cast Witch Bolt at him.
I'm sorry. It's gonna keep happening.
no.
I'll try. Get me a better response. I don't know what to do.
I wasn't knowing at that. I was knowing because I.
That's a much worse thing than my bad singing. 9 misses the guard. The witch bolt snaps out. Eerie. You feel for a moment as though like there's a peal of thunder as the lightning like snaps off the end of your staff, and there's a moment where you're like, was the lightning like trying to pull away from me? Did the magic try to resist me? Like, what was that? That's your action. You use your movement. You have a bonus action? Angus Brighthorn.
No bonus action.
Okay. Is he still blowing the horn, or is he just do it
he's
once
like
and he's
trumpeting
now preparing
away
to
with this stupid horn, trying to like between the thunder and the rain. He's just like standing there like he looks like he wants to like break and run, you know. He actually would have moved a little bit. Yeah.
How far?
We know band kids.
I was a band kid. How far is
50
he
feet.
from Angus?
Because you haven't closed any distance yet, right? Let's see.
Right. I'm going
You have cool Minotaur dashing stuff. I don't know if that's relevant. Okay.
Yeah, actually, that works out well. I was going to try something different. Can I judge whether or not like I'm playing I'm looking at him through my bard filter, and I'm like, so he's kind of dim there trying to play that a horn in this weather, and these canyons and forests and stuff, like they play tragic with the echoes. So I think we're good there. This is all his internal dialogue.
Thank God.
So he so Angus moves 30 feet towards the guard. He dashes for 20 feet.
Action. He dashes.
And then because he has dashed at least 20 feet, he is going to make an attack with a goring rush with his horns.
Welcome to Minotaur life, baby. Go for it. 15. Hits.
Yes.
Oh.
2 bludgeoning. I guess it's probably piercing.
That's unfortunate. Okay. Yep.
But, darn it! This was the attack is a bonus action, so I can't do another bonus action.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hit him for 2.
You come charging across the ground. Eerie, you hear like the hooves of Angus pounding on the stone behind you as the hulking, massive Minotaur, to you, small perhaps to others of his kind, comes racing past you, barreling down this like rocky, twisted path, and you carve past Ulrich, who stands there now unarmed, like reaching for one of his off weapons as you put your horns down, and I think that the ground like gives way a little bit beneath you. Your hoof comes down. You like lose a little bit of footing, and you land the blow, though not as forcefully as you would have liked. That's your movement action bonus action, which brings us to the death dog. Mike, no PTSD. It wheels on you, Krixus. This massive 2-headed dog turns on you. Both mouths growling, and it makes 2 attacks. 22 and 6. Okay, 22. So one mouth gets a piece of you for 8 points of piercing damage. I need a Constitution save.
Okay.
Nice. Con save successful. You feel its teeth like sink in, your flesh giving way underneath. It bites you like nastily, shaking at your leg for a minute before you like pull it out of its mouth. That's its turn. What do I got here? Krixus, you're up.
I swing my warhammer down on this this 2-headed dog's head.
Yeah, good choice. Which head? Left or right? Right or left?
I let the gods decide. I don't think, I just do.
I love it. Okay.
Probably the left.
I don't think.
Whatever the wind blows, for that matter.
17 hits. 17 hits. For 9 points of bludgeoning damage. The hammer cracks a sharp retort as it connects with the heavy skull of this thing. And with that, at 50 points of damage, Krixus, the head like snaps, crushing into the ground, and you see like brain splatter out the side of it, the other head seeming to like completely lose control as you've killed one of it. The body is still like thrashing and moving, but it poses no threat to you any longer.
Krixus looks at the camera and says, 50 points of damage. And then as a bonus action, whispers to the camera, 50 points. As a bonus action, he's going to use his spiritual weapon on the guard that's blowing the horn. And 20. He rolls.
Did he stop blowing that horn?
He does for a moment. He does for a moment. Of course he does. He's like, but like you're there, and he's just like, now he's even more scared that he needs help. This guy knows he's already dead as the spiritual weapon, the small spectral dragon, surges at him, cleaving. Roll the damage.
This guy has the concentration. I love it. Well.
And with that, Krixus, 2 in 1 round, the spiritual dragon cleaves into this guy, and the horn like drops from his hand at your feet, Angus, as like he's like trying to defend against this spectral weapon that's gnawing at him, and he like collapses backwards against a rock wall in like a small whimper as he slides to the ground, like.
It's like a small pseudo dragon. It wouldn't be like a huge dragon, everyone. It's like a very tiny, I would say, medium type dragon that kind of swoops in and takes a bite out of this scout and his horn.
With that, the enemies around you seemingly have fallen. The sounds have grown louder. You hear the clanging of metal on metal. You hear screams. You smell the dull, thick scent of fire smoke, of burning that hangs heavy in the moist, rainy air. Lightning flashing in the sky as you look up. The wyvern screams continue unabated. In the sky, it sounds almost as if they're everywhere, all around you. Erkengard is burning. So the lot of you like have this moment.
Say that.
I need to find my weapon. If I can find
Ulrich, you
my
come
hammer.
like racing up past Angus, and you see like behind the stone where the slumped body of this half-elven guardsman, a half-elf, certainly not something you recognize. You like are like looking, and then you see the like black handle of the adamantine hammer, like laying in a crevice in the rocks. You're able to snatch hold of it.
I just missed the cloud of daggers and pick up the dropped war horn.
Nice.
I guess Erie's kind of looking around or listening to see like if there's anybody she recognizes, if there's any voice maybe that's recognizable, or where things seem most concentrated.
So you don't really have like sight of much yet. Like I want you guys to imagine you're coming kind of up a rise on like the curving kind of side of a hill, okay? And there's an entrance on the side of this hill leading down in like a tunnel, but up over the top of the rise, you would get a look down into kind of like the courtyard that is the central square of the village.
Okay. So Erie will run to the top then.
Okay.
To get a view.
Erie, as Ulrich's retrieving his hammer, and Angus is like, he picks up this war horn, dismisses the cloud of daggers. Erie is like scrambling up the ledge, double timing it, and Erie, you like take to the top of the ledge, and the first sight that you see, some maybe 200 feet away from you down the slope, okay, are what look like 8, perhaps 10 of these like blue armored figures, and they seem to be surrounding what looks like one figure whose silver scales stand out in the lightning blasts and the dim light of the fading day in this storm. It's Van Brightscale. He's the silver dragonborn of the village and carpenter and a dear friend of your uncle Bezwanowick. And I think you see these like 8 or 10 soldiers. They have spears, long spears. As you take in the sight of the rest of the square, you see 2 ogres standing. No, just one, as one of them is felled by the blow of a wyvern sting, and its rider leaning off the top with another long spear harpooning at one. You see a group of dwarves that have been overtaken by what looks like another cluster of maybe 8 or 10 of these soldiers. And then like you look up and you see perhaps the most like terrifying sight that you've seen yet, as beneath you is the open plaza, the center square of Erkengard. On the far side is a ridge that sort of matches your own, maybe 400 feet away. And you're able to see that far through the rain and the storm because there's a light there. There's this bright white light that's illuminating this whole area, and you recognize it clearly seems to be some type of command post, as there's maybe like a dozen figures standing there, and one of them is on a disc levitating in the air, this globe of light above her, as you could imagine, these long hair flowing down her back. But more terrifying is beneath the levitating disc, next to the dozen or so men.
Krixus is running to follow Eerie. He's not going to let Eerie.
Krixus, no,
Eerie,
hold on.
like,
Krixus
Eerie's...
comes racing up to the top of the hill. This is all like in an instant, right? Think about how fast you see things as you look. Like, this is all like in an instant. And so you're like, oh my God, Van Brightscale. Oh my God, the ogres, the dwarves, what? And Krixus at this point comes racing up next to you, and you stop Krixus standing on this ledge. Angus and Hulric behind you have just gotten their hammers, gotten themselves together, and you look, Krixus, and you see a Minotaur with this enormous, wicked spiked mace mounted on the back of a true blue dragon, its wings folded behind its back, this levitating disc in the air with this woman in the globe of light above it.
Can you describe the size of this blue dragon?
It's 500 or 400 or so feet away. It is not the size of the biggest building you've ever seen. It's bigger than the wyverns.
Wait,
no.
It's the size of a
building? It is the size of a building, but not the biggest one. It's bigger. Listen.
Wait, I've never seen that many buildings before, so this is the first time I've really, are we talking
bigger,
about like
it is
bigger
bigger,
than the tree? Like
it's
tall as the
bigger
tree?
than the wyverns, but not like 3 times bigger, maybe only like twice as large. Like, it's pretty big, but it's pretty big.
It's bigger than
the wyverns.
That's what we're telling
It's bigger than the wyverns, but it doesn't dwarf the wyverns,
Okay.
Meanwhile, as you guys are looking, you look down and you see all of this as well, Krixus. You see ogres fighting these soldiers. You see dwarves being overwhelmed by them, and then you look down at the base of the hill, maybe only 100, 150 feet away, 200 feet away. Van Brightscale, the Silver Dragonborn, the village carpenter, close friend of Erie's uncle Bezwanowick, and as he steps sideways, this hammer in his hand, shield in the other, you see Uncle Bez is standing down there with him.
Oh my gosh!
I guess
how far away are they?
I'm gonna run down and join them.
Away.
150. Yeah, what's the way down? Is there a way down?
It's very steep.
Join them, Rich.
It's.
So we're sliding.
Okay.
we're hopping on the shield.
I
and
guess
sliding
is
down,
that the
right?
move? Hulric and Angus, what are you guys doing, real quick? As you retrieve your weapons, you see Krixus has raced up after Erie, and they're standing at the top of the bridge.
I would follow my friends.
Yeah, Erie looks at them, and I mean, there's a couple tears coming down her face. And she's
Rich, can I pick up
down.
Eerie and do
Sure.
a jump?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Can I roll athletics for that?
Okay, Hulric and Angus. Angus, are you following Hulric? Angus, I didn't hear what you said. Are you going?
I'm the king of bad ideas.
Save a couple of people.
Let the cleric make his athletics check.
Don't.
Can I assist in some way?
No, I rolled.
Can you assist?
I mean,
how
I'm
do you
doing it
assist?
with
I guess just the way you move. You're balancing
with her
your
staff,
weight.
I guess
Okay.
maybe. Or using her staff to kind of maybe steer in some way. I don't know.
No, balance is a good. No, I like balance.
Yeah, right.
That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to jump and land steadily in the like I'm really kind of bouncing down the incline.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of doing. So
she's like a gondola. You know what I mean? She's
I
going
mean,
down.
we
I
are.
don't
Well,
think she's more like a type world.
I imagine almost Krixus is
Yeah.
like the skis and she's slaloming. Yeah. So Krixus, you like leap.
yeah, really.
You guys see as you come racing up,
Okay.
Krixus has grabbed Eerie and she's got her like staff, right? She's kind of like leaning on his sides, and Krixus jumps just as you guys get to the top of the hill, and you look down and you see the entirety of this scene that I just described. You see a woman on this levitating platform in the opposite ridge under this white light, a Minotaur with a massive mace on a blue dragon, a dozen men as they survey this battlefield. You see ogres of the village, your friends, your neighbors fighting for their lives against soldiers and wyverns. You see dwarves being overrun, and then at the bottom of the hill where Krixus and Eerie are heading, you see Bezwanowick, the mad gnome, and his friend Van Brightscale, the dragonborn carpenter. And with that, Krixus, boom, you land and you jump again, boom. And so Krixus is like going. What are you guys gonna do?
Angus looks up just in time to see Krixus make the leap, and then he runs. That's when he goes up the hill.
Jesus. Well, you let me know. Am I at the top of the hill? Am I
as you
seeing
get to
this?
the top of the hill, you look back, you see Angus had just started up after you, and you're looking down, and Krixus has started jumping his way down the hill.
Okay, is it steep enough that I could slide it? Could I slide my movement and shoot a crossbow?
Go for it. What do you want to shoot your crossbow at?
At the closest creatures on the ground.
At these
around
soldiers
our
that are
two
fighting
friends.
Uncle Bez and Van.
Yeah, anyone that looks to be in more ornate armor than the other ones.
Good call. So you're like scanning quickly, looking at them. It's hard to like distinguish in like the chaos of the melee. Smoke is in the air. You hear a peal of like thunder, and a lightning bolt smashes into one of the ogres that's fighting. Go ahead and make your crossbow attack as you like jump and start like sliding on your backside.
If I could do a bonus action while I'm jumping down, if it's possible. If not,
Well,
that's
Did they even? I don't know. In this weather, they
You
even
fire
do a bolt,
the
but
crossbow bolt to
we'll
no
see.
avail. You know it does not connect with anything. What are you trying to do with your bonus action, Krixus?
I'm drinking one of my little
Yeah, sure. Like we're
healing
not
potions
actually in
that I
combat
make.
now, right? So it's fine. Like you snap out
Oh,
one of your
okay.
healing potions and like guzzle it down. What do you make them out of?
I make them out of bark and
Awesome.
mushrooms and whatever else wonderful berries that I can
like it.
find.
Cool.
Too sweet to
So
taste.
the berries are really just a flavor additive. It's all about the bark and fungi. That's where the healing properties come from. I like it. Angus, meanwhile, you've taken the top of the hill. You see Hallrick on his backside sliding down the water-soaked rubble of this ravine. Krixus leaping with Eerie planted on his shoulder, clearly heading right for Bezwanowick and Van Brightscale. And you take in the scene as I've described it.
I'm thrown by the Minotaur. Does it look like anybody in the plaza has seen any of my friends?
Everybody seems to be like fighting life and death and occupied with what's right in front of their faces, except for this command center on the other ridge, who are watching the fight, you know.
I will start to make my way down the scree of the rock slide.
And like you're trying to like walk carefully, or are you like okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's sliding, and Angus is like.
Okay, Angus, you pick your path.
so-
You're
Strolling.
Yep.
Tall.
You pick your path. Your hooves like finding footing with each step. Yep.
And hooves.
Yeah.
I dig it. Meanwhile, Krixus, you're like leaping after about 15, 20 seconds, you've like closed most of the distance. You find yourself now like 60 feet away from this melee. You see Van Brightscale like cracks one of these soldiers with the hammer and he drops. And at this point, like you hear Bezwanowick's voice, I should say. And he's like, just another moment! Hold them off! Hold them off! And Van is like fighting for his life.
We're coming!
If your uncle's about to activate the town's defenses that we didn't realize existed.
How long has it been since I run over to Erie and jumping down this
about
hill thing?
18 seconds.
So
Yeah, how
would it fair to say that my spiritual
Yes.
weapon is still active?
Yep.
Because it's
Yep.
about a minute. Can I
Yeah, you're
send it
like
forth?
trailing it with you, right? But it can only move 30 feet around. So like you push it out in front of you, like sure, you can use it to make an attack at one of these guys, sure.
also, yeah, if it's possible, I don't know if Erie can cast
Okay.
a firebolt.
Go
Yeah,
for it.
that's-
You're within range of firebolt.
Yeah.
15 solidly connects with one of these guards. For 6 points of damage, you hear the guard like scream as this fire appears out of nowhere, and it's at this moment the tiny like spectral dragon that Krixus has conjured as a spiritual weapon. The firebolt sails in. Hulrick, you're firing your crossbow as you go. It's kind of a bitch to load while you're like sliding down the hill, so you like lose a turn, but whatever. Take one more shot while you slide over these couple rounds.
All right.
Yep.
Same guy.
15 hits.
All right.
So we see the firebolt hit him, or the crossbow bolt actually hits him first, and then the fire like streaks down and tags him, and like he wheels screaming as he falls to the ground dead. But you see now some of the soldiers turning and looking, and it's at this point, Erie, only 50 feet away. Angus, you're like halfway down the hillside now. Your friends are still like a solid like 40 feet out in front of you, but you hear the shrill voice of Bezwanawick the Mad scream, "No! Get back, girl! Get back!" And you like get a look as this one soldier that was in front of him has dropped, and you see that he's holding this elaborate pipe that seems to have something like attached to it that's stretching out behind him to this like big brass tank that's like standing there next to him.
Oh no. Okay.
And you
Right.
realize, like, as you've gotten in this close, Van Brightscale has a hammer in one hand, and he has like a pretty sad, sputtering, guttering torch in his other hand. So you're 60 feet away. Krixus is just or spiritual weapon. You firebolt. Hulrick shoots his crossbow. Angus, what would you like to do?
I'm continuing to close because I think I'm too far
Okay,
away
so
to do
you're
anything.
still just like double timing down. So yeah, what are you guys gonna do? Krixus and Erie, as you're right on top of this kind of group.
Can
Sure.
I cast
Yeah.
again, I guess? Alright. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for another firebolt. 17.
Do I see like the
Yes, you
contraption
see it too
from
now. You see
the
it too,
uncles?
Krixus, and you see Bezwanawick looking right at you in Erie, and he's screaming, "Turn back! Turn back!" And he's got like this pipe.
Does it look like he's lighting it?
You're a very wise fellow, Krixus. So as you look,
I mean, like
you
a-
see that Van
wick or
Brightscale
something?
seems to be like defending this area, and he's holding the torch, and he's like the gnome is beginning to point this pipe that he's got like towards the torch that Van Brightscale is holding, and you're like,
Yeah,
like it seems like it might be some kind of fire. Yeah, there seems to be some relationship between the fire and whatever's happening with this crazy gnome.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Well, I mean, my spiritual weapon goes out after one of
The firebolt
enemies.
hits. Spiritual weapon actually hits. These guys are only wearing leather armor, not the scale of the other ones.
Okay.
8 and 8, 16 points of damage. So we see another firebolt blast into one of these soldiers. The spiritual weapon bites at it.
pick up Eerie and seek cover.
You snatch up Eerie.
If that's possible, because this looks like it's going to blow.
There's rubble everywhere. There's broken walls and like boulders scattered on this hillside.
Yeah,
so you duck behind one of the walls, peering out around the edge of it. Ulrich, you have a moment as you're like sliding now into the area, like kind of catching up to Krixus and Eerie. You have like one more action here, one thing you could do.
I'm guessing he's yelling loud enough that I heard what's going on. Can I piece this together? All right, so I've closed a little bit of ground. I'm going to fire one more crossbow bolt at the woman on the disc.
Holy shit. This is at disadvantage, but go ahead.
I know.
Oh, Rick.
17. Ulrich, you aim. You compensate, just like Nallis taught you when you were young. You wait for the wind. You've taken enough ground sliding down this hill that you're just at the edge of like your 320-foot range of this crossbow. And you fire. At disadvantage, that's a 17. You lose sight of the bolt. But you see the woman flinch, and her face like wheels towards the group of you. You see
friends.
She has this long black hair trailing around her, pale skin. These long pointed ears like jutting up from underneath the black hair, and she wears this very simple blue robe, collared tight up to her chin. And she's like peering now through the rain and the smoke across the battlefields at you, clearly.
That's pretty far away
sure
in the dark,
but
man.
It's close enough for you to land a crossbow bolt, right? So,
like
to
a
that,
freaking, like power blast
got, like,
wizard elf,
yes.
man.
That is true.
Like, the whole
yes,
street
that is
shining
absolutely
down
true.
Right.
He's got bangs.
20
Roll
wizard
damage?
One. No, I'm just
the hard part is you do what we all want to do, but 150% should not.
That's so on brand. I love it. It's like so great for this Ulrich Stormbeard. Okay. The crossbow bolt having connected. Krixus has grabbed Eerie and dived behind the rock. Angus, at this point, you're down to, like, you're about 30 feet behind Ulrich as you see him, like, point the crossbow across the ridge and fire. And you see the response of this woman in the light as she's, like, peering towards the lot of you.
How far am I from the enemies who are threatening Van and
you're
Uncle?
like about like what did I say here? He's like 40 feet away. You're 30 feet away from him, so like 70 feet.
I will close ranks with Ulrich. How many enemies does that put me in range of?
In missile range? In what kind of range? Like?
Oh, sorry. Within 60 feet.
All of them. There's still like a solid 6 figures standing around Van, and yep.
Oh, perfect. I am going to cast.
Save that one.
What?
So I take out my warhorn.
Okay.
And cast Enthrall on all the enemies I see within 60 feet. And they get a wisdom saving throw. I'm guessing a chunk of them that are directly engaging will get advantage on the saving throw. But if anybody who fails the saving throw will only be able to see me.
Okay, hold on one sec. I'm just going to do it this way.
It's all like elves and half elves, right? So they've already have advantage on stuff.
What's the DC? 14?
Some are just immune.
2 of them make their saves.
The rest, unless they they have disadvantage on wisdom checks disadvantage on perception checks to perceive anybody other than me.
So as you're like playing this warhorn, they're all like, they've turned and seemingly stopped. And it's at this moment you've given Van the room he needs. As he sees most of these opponents around him have broken, he takes half a step back, falling in next to his tiny companion, Beswanawik the Mad, Erie's crazy uncle, the lone survivor of the avalanche that killed her family. And we see the silver dragonborn. He grabs up the brass canister, like lifting it, and he's like, "Go, my friend!" And with that, he like juts out the sputtering little torch. And we see the tiny gnome, Beswanawik the Mad, wheel this pipe around, the end of it flared and open. And he slaps down this lever at the top of it. And there's this belching burp of fire that just immolates 2 of these soldiers in front of him. They stand transfixed at you, Angus. Entranced as flames consume them, and they begin to run like madly, screaming while they burn to death. And it's at this point that you hear like, "Not in my village! I've lost too much already!" And this gout of fire as like this gigantic flamethrower wielded by this tiny gnome begins incinerating these soldiers. The stink of rotten eggs cuts through the air under the rain, and you're like filled with enthusiasm. You peer over the top of the wall, Erie, Krixus watching like, yes. And it's at that point the whole brass canister explodes, and Van and Beswanawik are consumed in a gigantic eruption of fire. The battle around you seems to stop. You see ogres turn and pause other soldiers. At this point, the woman on the levitating disc clearly looking in all of your directions. And as you blink out the light, your uncle's gone. Van Brightscale's gone. The soldiers all there are gone. There's black and charred debris on the ground where they were.
During the completely to take advantage of the dramatic moment.
That's what we're here for.
When the explosion happens, can I take that opportunity to try to dive out of sight?
Fuck yeah. Okay.
I will do so.
Rolling into your shoulder, Erie. Elation collapses into like pain and sorrow. Krixus, your friend next to you, you know the like loss that she's just borne. As you guys crouch behind the wall, Ulrich still standing in the open, crossbow in his hands. Looks around.
I mean, I think you just see him there, like you just see the tip of the crossbow come down and just like sheer shock. You know what I mean? Like nobody's ever seen anything like that before. You know, I mean, just completely blown away. You know what I mean? Just I mean, when you survey the scene, like what is left down there? Like
all the soldiers are destroyed, and you don't see Beswanawik or Van. Like it's just was like a Titanic kind of explosion as this pressurized tank erupted. And the force of it seems to have like blown the area clean. You know, there's probably like a few corpses of some of the soldiers that were like thrown, all over the place, right? And there's like that heartbeat of silence before like battle picks up again. You hear like screams and clangs, stones are shattering, lightning dropping from the sky. But I think you guys have like a moment here to react. Like Angus has dove away.
Okay, wait, that lady in the disc, that's a lady, right? like she's oh wow, I don't like her, and she's definitely turned her head in our direction,
and I think
right?
that as you are like peering back at her, you hear Father's voice, Krixus. She is our enemy. She serves Virago.
Tell me something I don't know, Father. Any advice would be helpful, Father. I pick up Eerie. I say, I think it's time for us to.
If you try and pick her up, she pushes you away.
It doesn't matter.
She runs out. Like she takes if you try and like take her, she like resists you and like pushes her staff against you, and like she runs out.
How come she couldn't do that to all the enemies she's been taken by?
You remember when I like beat the shit out of something when I
we're gonna have to, I'm definitely. Are you running into the court?
No, she just like runs out to where like Bez and Van.
Yeah, that's from. Okay, so Rich, we're okay. So that's a battle between us, I guess, because I'm not letting her.
Let's call it opposed
it's not a battle.
checks.
So go ahead and try to make an athletics check, and Eerie, you can make either an athletics or an acrobatics check.
Cool.
Oof.
Yeah.
Eerie, you try to dart past your friend, but Krixus, how do you stop her? Describe it.
I literally grab her and pick her up.
It's one of those moments where like your feet are pumping.
Like I grab her and I pick her up, and we're going toward Stormbeard right now, Horik.
Well, I think you see. I mean, we have enemies all around us. I don't think going back up the crazy steep hill is really the way to go. I mean, we're down. It's time to go down. I think you see Horik like, no, go. Like he's telling you to go towards the cave mouth, towards whatever. He knows the land better than I ever would. He grew up there his whole life. So wherever he seeks shelter, a mouth to the cave, whatever he can get to.
Then I pick up Eerie, and as I turn to Ulrich is pointing to the cave mouth. I dash to the cave mouth.
Yeah, Eerie is like, she's screaming. Like at the top of her lungs, she's screaming like some like insults at Krixus, and like some at like she's like looking at this like lady in the distance, like screaming like threats and like vengeance, and like firing like fire bolts.
Eerie is like blasting off fire bolts at like anything within range, of which there are plenty of enemies. You see the last ogre standing against this like wyvern rider fall as the wyvern like crashes into it and bears him to the ground. You hear his groan as he vanishes underneath the mass of the thing. And as you're ripping these fire bolts off, Ulrich kind of racing after you. Angus, what are you doing amidst all of this?
If I saw Angus go down, I would yell to him. You know, before he ran, he would yell, "Come on, come on!"
Yeah, if he's seeing everybody kind of heading toward the mouth. By the way, his enthrall spell is now over. What? No, it did. It did the trick. But he will be, as he sees them heading toward the cave, he will follow suit, and he will dash, double move.
So
however you want to describe
the four of you now kind of strung out in like this sort of loose line, right? Krixus with Eerie in his hand out in front, Ulrich behind, Angus closing the distance from a little bit further back. You're racing for what you know is an entrance down into the lower levels of Erkengard, where many of the residences lie. The courtyard that you've grown up in is a battle scene. The dead and dying lay everywhere, soldiers and neighbors both. But from across on the far peak next to this woman on this pedestal, the blue dragon has taken flight. It leaps into the air, and it's closing on you. And I think all of you at some point as you're racing, taking all of this in, you see the sight of it. The Minotaur diminished and dwarfed by the size, as the size of the dragon seems to grow the closer it gets. And yeah, it is.
Funny that.
And as its wings like beat in the rain, the thunder crashing around you, You hear it like sucking in air. You smell the ozone of lightning around you. And I think like you're right 20 feet from the mouth of the cave, Krixus. You could see it, and you peer over your shoulder, and Eerie is screaming, and fire is leaping from her finger every 5 steps, and you hear a voice from the mouth of the cave. No! No! And out of it steps this massive, hulking woman, a stark counterpoint to the one on the disc on the far side. 7 feet tall. She's hunched to step out of the pass of this cave mouth. Her skin a blackish purple. Her hair wild, thick, hanging half the length down her massive body. Her arms bare in the rain, corded and twisted. It's the Ogre Magi, one of the 3 elders of the village. Eerie's mentor, teacher, adopted parent, perhaps, Ursula Vandren, the ogre mage. And as she steps out into sight of you, she just growls again, "No!" And then she turns and like looks, and you hear, and you guys like turn and look, and the sight of like this massive giant eagle, Rogosh, the Alagi elder, the druid, shape changed into this form when you last saw him to go check on the hunting party, crashes into the dragon in the air. And we see like the flight of this blue scaled monstrosity like lose momentum. The Minotaur clinging to the reins as the 2 of them roll. And Ursula is like glaring up into the sky, looking around at all of you, and she's like, "Go! Go!" Stepping out like in front of the door, pointing to the cavern behind. "Nalus is like in the main hall. Run! Run!"
I guess we run.
Yeah, Eerie screams of vengeance turn to like please of like no, like please don't leave us, like just as they're running, she's like screaming no and like crying.
And so you guys all charge down the hall? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, got it.
I didn't stop.
You barrel past her as she steps out in front.
Do we pass like Ursula, like, so Eerie, like as they're running past, can she reach her like with her hand?
Yeah, you're like leaning as far as you can. Crixus like holding you, and you reach out. What are you trying to do? Just touch her?
She just like grabs like Ursula's like shoulder or something, and she casts mage armor on her as she's like running past.
Got it. You like begin the conjuration, like conjuring the words, your fingers moving, and you reach out, just your fingers lightly like brushing across her as Krixus races you past, the magic flowing from your fingertips to ward her against her enemies. And so the sounds of battle behind you begin to diminish as the echoing footfalls of your frantic flight down this hallway fill your ears. And you race for 50 feet or so, coming around a corner. You know this opens into like a kind of like central like area here underground. It's sort of like an intersection of some of the thoroughfares down here, and the sound of like battle, swords clanging, clashing, meets you as you come racing in. And as you reach this intersection of 4 ways, to your left leads down towards the fishing caves deep below the village, towards Ursula's home. You see a group holding the pass to the right, which leads back out to the central square that you just left. And amongst them are Nalus the smith and Nasher Belduri, the warden of the village, and one of the other elders, the dwarven elder. And they like are battling with a couple of these soldiers in front of them, and they proceed to like cut them down as the pair of you come running in. Nasher Balduri, a Svervnoblin, a night gnome, his skin as black as onyx, his eyes bright, sharp, and blue, similar to Krixus's in how they stand out. And he has a pick in one hand and a hammer in the other. Nallis, the smith, a dwarf, his beard thick, long, braided, and white from his centuries of age. And he has his ancestral short sword in his hand, covered in blood. And as a lot of you like come racing in, I think you like pause for a moment at the entryway, and you see these two take down these enemies in front of them. The heavy sounds of panting, and you hear the gnome like, "That's all of them for now." "Oh, they're here. You lot." And Nallis, the dwarf, turns looking to you like, "By the light of the shepherds, I dinna think you made it back. I thought they took you on the road."
Yuri kind of like, Krixus, can you please put me down now?
If I put Yuri down.
And I think that the Svervnablin, the warden Nasher, he says, "I'm going to take the hall. I'll gather whoever I can up in front. We have to hold this pass. We have to hold it." And Nalith nods and says, "I'm right behind you, friend. Gather all who yet breathe and have fire in their veins. I need a moment." And then the Svervnablin nods, the night gnome turning and racing away from you down the hall. And Nalith is like looking you over like, "Are you hurt? Are you all right?" "No."
Yuri's just like shaking her head, like still crying, but like no emotion on her
No.
face.
"I'm not either, girl." And his face like tightens for a second. "Yes."
Krixus is a little banged up, isn't he, Mike?
Not anymore because Krixus had a healing potion, so he looks like just a scratch.
Yeah.
Ulrich's just overcome, and you just see him like bang his hammer against the shield, and he's like, "Well, where do you need us?"
He like peers over his shoulder in the direction that his gnome companion just ran. Then he looks past you up the hallway you just came. And he like takes a moment before he responds. He's breathing like very heavily, He's old, he's been fighting, there's blood on his sword. I think he wipes it with his cloak, taking the blood off. Shink! And he slides it back into the scabbard, and he turns and looks at you, and he says, "You're to make for Ursula's chambers. Now, all the survivors will gather there and rally. There's a way out. Angus, the day your father died, I lost a brother. He was better than any of us at leading this place. He always used to say, hidden things can't remain such forever. A secret never stays secret. I'm sorry I didn't do him better. You're as close as a son as I'll ever have. The fates sought to put me in this place. And so, my father's 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 name will die with me."
No.
I've given you the tales of my ancestry back to the first of my line. Nalain, who came at the side of Ruldo when the shepherds opened the gates and brought the first of us to this fresh world with hopes for something better. Take those stories with you. You must survive. You must keep them alive, for Erkengard dies today, and I've taken an oath that the day this place dies, I will spill my blood with it. I cannot run, but neither can I let them have this. And he like goes to his belt and starts like unbuckling it, right? He pulls his belt off and he wraps it around the scabbard, and he just like reaches it out to you. You need to take the sword. I'll not have their hands lay on it.
Angus pauses, like the kind of tears welling up in his eyes, and he reaches across and he takes the sword.
Your horns may never get any bigger, boy. You're grown, full-grown, but you've earned that ring. You need not wait for some great deed to make you worthy of it.
He will find a place to kind of safely stow the scabbard and the belt, and he'll put his hand on. Is he injured?
He's all kinds of fucked up. He's like bleeding from like a dozen different cuts. His armor is like battered and broken. One of the greaves is like missing, you know.
He will use his healing magic to heal Nalus.
So you reach out and like touch him, healing him for 10 hit points. You see some of the wounds closing, and he closes his eyes. His breathing like eases slightly, and he's like looking over the lot of you. He like his eyes like linger for a moment on you, Ulrich, and he nods like, I hope you live long enough for your beard to grow thick and gray, boy. You keep the wee ones safe. Keep them safe. And I think you hear like a yell now from like up the hall. Nalus! Nalus, I can't hold them!
Rich, I'm gonna hear Nalus as well. Oh well. Hoping for a little
like
more.
Reach out and touch him, and like, you know, you murmur the quiet prayer to Father, and I think like he grabs your wrist, Krixus, and he's like staring at you, right? Like tears just like filling in his eyes, running down his beard, and he says, I do not know how or why you came to be, boy, but you're a sign, you're hope for us. Not just you, but all four of you, I understand. This place, we lie in the shadow of the Titans who walked this world in the first age. You're the heirs of Erkengard. You're the Titans' heirs. You need to flee this place. Don't look back. Go to a room. If there's any there, take them with you. You'll find a passage under the third chest in the back closet. Drag it out of the way. There's a tunnel that leads deep. It will take you to Bladefall, one of the caverns below. From there, there's more ways that will take you far, far to the west. Hopefully you won't pop your heads up above ground until all here is done and finished. But we've lost this fight. We can't lose you.
And with that, I give Nalus a hug, and then I make my way to the secret passageway, I guess.
And I cast. I say to him, "You leave. So you're leaving us a hero, but you came to us a hero. So this is fitting." And he casts heroism on him.
And with that, I think like you see him like almost like grow 2 inches, right? Just as like his posture like rights, the weariness like washes from him, and he closes his eyes, drags like his hairy arm, his gauntlet across his face, blood and grit, like smeared into his beard, and he proceeds to like pull like a small warhammer off of his belt, and he's just like, my friend's dying up there. I can't let him do it alone. You four run. You don't look back. Remember the tales of my father. My father's father's father. Remember their names, Angus. And he's just turns and starts like barreling away from you guys after the Servalman, right down the hall. And you hear like this low roar as he's like, "Ah!" For the shepherds! For Erkengard! And you hear him like slamming the hammer against like the hallway, the stone, as he goes like charging out after them.
Eerie kind of like wipes her eyes and like steps forward and like takes a deep breath and is like, "Come on, I know the way. I know what he's talking about."
Is there like a storeroom on the way that we could raid for some type of provisions really quick if we're going to be on the road for a long time?
Yes, you like.
I think you see Ulrich like, we need provisions, we need supplies.
There's your house. There's your parents' house, Ulrich. And so as you guys are like racing down the hall, like you see just down one of the cutoffs, like, and you like run to like the door of your home and it's open, you know, it just hangs wide open. Nobody locks their doors here in Erkengard. The people here are good, but still like it hangs open. In there? As you step in, like it's quiet. You call like, is anybody here? And the place seems empty. Your mother, your father, neither are here.
Hopefully they're with the survivors.
But you're able to race to the pantry and the larder, and you could see like, you know, nothing was taken from here. Like all the food's still here, but you guys are able to like take a moment and start like gathering up bread, cheese, salted roast meat, all manner of provisions, couple of water skins, wine skins, right? Yes,
peach-sized blackberries.
Peach-sized blackberries here, as well as a sack of cave turnips and purple parsnips. Yep.
Yeah,
purple parsnips. So you guys, you grab up the provisions, right? And I think that as a lot of you are like, what are you guys doing? As Ulrich's gathering provisions, are you just like shell-shocked, Eerie? What about you, Krixus? Where are you guys at?
Eerie would like, as Ulrich's like finding the food and stuff, Eerie would be in the hallway, kind of like, it just has her staff next to her, just kind of looking and making sure that like they're not going to get attacked or anything.
A shadow coming down the hall, like flickering of what looks like torchlight. You smell some fire. Something's like coming down the hall.
She screams. Echo towards
Ulrich,
it. Like hits her staff against the wall.
You drop the purple parsnips as you hear this scream for a moment, and I think Eerie, as you're standing screaming your staff against the wall, this figure steps out from around the corner, fills the hallway, shoulders as broad as can be, the flat sloping face, horns on his head. It's Rogash, the Hawkeye. A laggy, the Sasquatch-type creature. His medicine pouch is gone. His belt has been ripped off of him. His fur, mostly white but beginning to shift for the summer colors, is just soaked in blood, and he's holding in his arms Ursula, right? And she seems battered, and you panic for a moment, but she's like, put me down. I'll walk the last steps, damn you. And he's places her down. And it's really a comical sight because he's much shorter than she is, but broader, But she stands, and you see as she turns at you, you realize one of her arms has been ripped off. Her whole right arm is gone. And as is many of the things about her, her components seem gone. She's pretty fucked up, badly hurt. Her blackish purple skin is pale and wan. Her eyes look sunken, and she's go. We must go. Come. And so the six of you four, escorted by these two elders, make your way to Ursula's chamber.
Is anybody else there in the chamber?
You open the door with hopes, expectation. Your breath catches in your throat for a moment. There's not a soul in this room. And she pushes you, the rest of you in, as maybe you linger at the door for a moment. And Rogash slams the door behind and bars it, pulling a big board in front of the way, like a 4x4, right? Yeah.
Rich, before he does that, can I cast Minor Illusion outside the door to make it look like a rock face?
Yeah. You like stop him for a moment and he's like, he like waits, like watching, and then you cast, and he like pats you.
It only go like 5 feet tall, so if there has to be a gap, I'll do it at the bottom.
But he like pats you in like clear approval as he like shoves it closed and bars it. And so she takes like 2 steps in and kind of collapses against the wall. Her eyes closed for a minute.
Ira's like next to her like the whole time.
I think Holrick's just in disbelief. Where are all the other survivors? Where is everybody?
Her eyes open and she looks at you like, most of them have been taken. They did not come to wipe us out, but to put us in chains, bring us back to their dynasty. Your mother, she did not make it, but I saw them take your father in manacles. He yet lives. I'm sorry.
I put my hand on Ulrich's shoulder.
I think he just drops in a chair. Just
I did
sits in
all
a
I
chair.
could to hold the dragon back. It will take some time for them to make their way here, but... Get it. Go and get it. It's time. And Rogosh is like... And he kind of like slowly like walks past a lot of you, like opening a door heading into one of the back rooms. I spent years in the world of men. I studied with the metallurgists. I fought against this for as long as I could. The last time I encountered them was 200 years ago, before I came to Erkengard. The same Sapphire Legion, different men in the armor, different priests driving them, different dragons, their knights rode, but they're the same. They will stop at nothing until all who yet live in this world bow to their queen. They found me, I ran, hid in these mountains. This is what they do all across the realm. I thought I could keep this place safe. I thought I knew better. I had seen much in the outside world, but I'm sorry. And at this point, Rogosh is coming out of the back, and he's got like this chest in his hand, and he's like, he drops it in the middle of the floor. Angus, your ring. Your father's ring.
He looks down at his war horn that he wears around his neck, and the ring has been kind of strung around that cord. Do you need this? Or
just a moment. I will not part it from you long.
He'll undo the knot that ties the cord together and slip the ring off and hand it to him.
So she like takes it and she like staggers forward from the wall a little bit, leaning down, and you see her like place it on the chest, and I was like, it's like clearly like a key. It fits into this clever piece of metalwork, and she spins it, and you hear, and then you see this dim blue light glow around the chest itself. And she slips it out and turns back at you. She says, there's more to this. Not enough time. And she like turns looking to Rogosh like, You must slow them, friend. And he just like nods once and like takes half a step. And he like stops at you, Krixus. And he just says, I know not the fate before you, Genasi. But you are of the blood of the Elderwind. The shepherds whisper to you. You are a hope to all of us. I hope what you've learned will serve you in the days to come. I am sorry I have failed us all so grievously. Follow the whispers of your father.
Aren't you coming with us, Rogash?
I'm sorry, boy. Here. He has like
Don't leave
he has
us,
a piece.
Rogash.
He has a scroll
With us.
tube in his hand that you just kind of notice, and he hands it to you, and he says, "These are some of the maps I have made in the years I have flown over these mountains. If you make it past Bladefall and take land again, they will prove you some aid. Wherever you go, the druids are your allies. Forget them not. They worship the old ways, and they will see in you what I have." Yeah.
Hey, Rich. He's heading towards
Yeah.
the door, it seems, correct? Angus will say to him, Rogash, the hunting party, you went to check on them. Are they... And he's kind
He
of
like
trails off.
turns and looks at you like, "Most still live, but they are taken. We were watched. This attack was timed. 2 groups. One struck the hunters, another here.
Thank you.
The Minotaur on the dragon. He's the first dragoon of the Sapphire Dynasty. I do not know what that means, but I heard the priestess call his title. His name, Drakencaern. Hers was Chembry. Do not let them find you, younglings." And at this point, I think you hear like, as like clearly like there's like stone being smashed. You feel like the reverberation in the room, right? And he's like, "I must hold them back." And he looks to Ursula. "I will give you the time. Farewell, old friend." And with that, like he turns towards the door and he like shifts for a moment into like a tiny little mouse, and he slips under like a crack in the door, vanishing from sight.
I was about to grab his arm, so he transforms to a mouse. Oh well. So he transforms to a mouse and disappears.
Yep. He slips under the door, and I think you feel Ursula's hand on your shoulder, Krixus, and she's like, "I'm sorry. You all deserve better than this life in this place. But you must all know it. You've seen it now as I saw it in the world before. It will not end. So long as the dynasties rule Abrea, this is the life. For those like us who would seek freedom, this is why you have had to live in this hard, terrible place. Why your parents are gone, why you could not have what you deserve. Peace, a childhood, hope for your future. Days without pain, Like this. May the fire fill your hearts in the years to come. You are the heirs of the Titans, children. You are the last of Erkengard. I know not what yet lies before you, but you must take these things and go. And like she pulls open the lid to the chest at this point and reaches into it, and out comes like this bundle. And there's essentially like this like heavy bundle that she's kind of holding with one hand. It seems to be a like a brownish kind of simple looking cloth that's cinched up by this cord kind of tied all around the edges of it. And she's hands it to you, Ulrich. And then she reaches to like her side and she pulls out of like this satchel bag 2 books. One of which you recognize, Eerie, as the book that she took from your uncle all those months ago after he created the clockwork. And she like hands it to you. This manual. It carries instructions. The plans, ingredients, components, the rituals. For you to build powerful weapons. I know not that you will ever find the time or the materials to make use of it, but it is yours by right.
I'll do my best.
And then, like, she takes the second book and she, like, looks at it for a moment, like, holding it in her one hand. And she's like, this I give to you. Like, it's a big, heavy book, you know. You reach out and take it.
Yeah.
You recognize immediately it's her spell book. It's bound in plain brown leather. But on the front cover is this iron sigil. And the binding on the back is all this brass and copper that's kind of woven together in this intricate braiding, you know. And she taps the iron sigil on the front. It says, "This is the symbol of the Metallurgist Guild. It will find you safe passage and safe harbor with any of them should you make it far enough. This earns you right. If you find a metallurgist in the world, I've showed you the signs, I've taught you all that I can teach you. But by the shepherd's willing, if you find one, show them this. Tell them Ursula Vandred gave you this book. Tell them Ursula Vandred sent you. And tell them that if any of them remember the name of Ursula Vandred, that they should do all they can to help you in any way they can. And they will. It's yours now."
You're just like nodding and like just crying at the same time.
And I think you hear an explosion, like close. And she like turns, looking to the door.
Ulrich doesn't even look in the satchel. He just puts it in his pack.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
She's like, "Would that I could do better. I do not seek death, but we took vows when we were to protect this place, that if it would fall, we would have had to fall first. Go, children." And she like leads you into the back room. You could see that there's like a passage dropping straight down to the floor. And Eerie, you're even shocked for a moment because you're like, "Oh no, I know exactly where this is." Like, you've never seen this before. You've like lived in this place for your entire life, and you're like, "Wait, what?" And she like walks you to it. She says, "The tunnels will lead you to Bladefall. From there, you will find your way."
Is there like a torch on the wall we could take with us? If we're going into dark tunnels.
I mean, I will cast light on my staff.
I think Ulrich would go down first.
Okay. And so Ulrich starts heading down the steps with this ever-burning torch that he's taken from the sconce of the wall. Eerie casts light on her staff.
Well, before Eerie even like moves towards that, she just like hugs Ursula. And, like, says thank you.
I never thought that I would be able to pass my knowledge on, girl. You deserve a better teacher and a better mentor. But you have given me the greatest gift of my life. Take the books. Never stop learning. Never stop fighting.
I'll make you proud.
I grab Auntie Ursula and I tell her, I swear to you, Ursula, Auntie Ursula, I swear we will have vengeance against these villains that have attacked our village.
She like chuckles, and I think she like leans down and like kisses you on the top of your head, you know, her like warm lips on your forehead, and she says, if you only knew the joy that you've given us. I've seen many things in this world, Krixus Copperstone, and not one of them is like you.
Well, I came from an egg. Stone egg.
Indeed you did.
Only one of its kind, as far as we know, right?
You must keep your friends safe. Listen to the whispers of your father. There is something in the bundle for you, like the one I gave you before, but larger. It is blessed from an old time. You will know it when you see it. I hope it guides you to a place better than this one, Krixus.
I know when I'll see it.
Thank you for the gift.
And I give her a hug.
She pulls you close with her one arm.
It's very upsetting.
It's tragic.
This moment is excruciating for me, for Krixus.
It's tragic.
Watching everybody that I love sacrifice themselves for it seems like almost an eternity in this moment right now.
And so Angus, you have this like moment. You know, she kind of looks at you and she like nods just quietly. She like gives you one simple nod.
He says, "The name of Ursula Vandrin will not go forgotten. I can make sure of that." And he goes to like jump in the hole. Then he kind of stops, goes back to the trunk and retrieves his ring.
Oh yeah. She like stops you as you're about to head into the door. She grabs you, her one hand, the like fingers holding you tight, and she like leans in and she says, "Look on the inside. Look." And her hand slips from your shoulder down to the ring while you're holding it. The black nail of this enormous finger rolling on it, and then it stops and you hear it. Your finely tuned musician's ear hears like a soft like click, and she like says, "Place your finger there. Do you feel it?" And you feel like this little knob, and she says, "This was more than a trinket from your father. It can guide you. It is an old tool, one made by the metallurgists, a thing I have read about but never seen until your father showed me this. When you reach Bladefall, see if you can't find more out of it."
I will make sure its mysteries are revealed.
She like nods, patting you on the shoulder. And so you like linger here, Eerie, and she says, "Yep." I'm sorry, Kurt. Yep.
No. Angus then turns and leaves.
And so Eerie, you're like lingering, you know, and she says, "The pain is good, Eerie. It means you are still alive. Stay that way. I swore myself to these people. I have let great travesties go unpunished in my life for the sake of more years, more time. It was all made worth it. And the years I've spent in Erkengard. Krixus is something else. He is no dragonborn. His blood is old and strong. And if he can be, then perhaps the Citadels might yet as well. I pray a day comes that you will rest your head to sleep in a place so blessed as those sanctums. May the shepherds guide you, girl.
We'll find them.
And she kind of like ushers you to the stairs and is like standing like, you have to go now. There's no time. I cannot let Rogosh die alone.
Okay.
And with that, like, she ushers you down the stairs, and she lingers for a moment. You know, I think the shot holds like on her in the room, on this hole in the floor, and she closes her eyes, like her body like shudders with sobs for a minute. And she like raises her hand and like murmurs an incantation, like pulls down, and you see like the stone of the ceiling collapse as you guys are walking down the hallway, the light of Ulrich's torch, Erie's staff, like filling the space with this mixture of firelight and magic. The rumble from behind, dust rolls down the hall. You pause for a moment, and we see you guys looking back, and the shot cuts back to Ursula Vandrin in the hallway, and she just like growls like, I will kill that dragon before I go to the shepherds. And she then like murmurs a spell. Her body becomes insubstantial, and she floats like through the wall, leaving just the empty room, quiet and hollow. And that is where we will wrap tonight on a feel-good moment. Guys, I love you. I hope that was not too masochistic and brutal. It's the setup. It's the setup.
John, you said you were going to distract him with your camera all night. This should not have been able to happen.
He did a good job. I mean, he kept me going for a solid hour there. That was a lot of work. It's a feel-good moment, Xanatos.
No, it's not.
Don't you feel it in your heart?
We can never
have a horrible moment.
We can never have nice things with Rich.
No, we can't. Gosh. You're not allowed to ever say blank is burning
again.
ever again.
I'm so sorry. I don't.
Twice is too many.
I don't mean to like laugh in pleasure. I know this is like brutal, you know. This is like a hard thing, but
it's wonderful.
You guys
it's
are, like,
wonderfully
focused and driven and motivated, and now like you know, you're no longer trapped as the little kids in the village anymore. Welcome to adventuring.
Well, I've officially seen my parents crawl out of the ground as skeletons and watch my uncle be eviscerated.
No, he wasn't eviscerated. He exploded himself in a scientific backfire that killed many enemies.
Thank you.
No
Sorry.
problem.
Yep.
I think the pureed and cooked at the same time.
Yes,
Is that
I mean, there was
I don't know. What do I know?
I'm not trying to go into that. So for whatever it's worth, you know, I wrote this. I wrote this adventure many years ago, and it's like deeply inspired by like the Japanese RPGs of the 90s, you know, that like Zelda moment. Like really it was like this scene, and I really appreciate you guys like getting on board and the buy-in and all of it, right? I know it's not like a fun, laughing, lighthearted thing, but like it like crystallizes the focus of the story, and like it's such a trope in kind of fantasy. Yes.
Yeah.
Getting on board and buying in makes it sound like you told us
this
is what was going to happen.
No.
I think that's my favorite part of the whole thing is that we did, for those like who are watching who don't know, we did this little test run into this, and we played a couple sessions just to get familiar with the characters, and I thought I had an idea, and I thought I was on a pretty stable footing as to what to expect, you know, and no,
yeah,
now it all just changed.
I knew that like something was going to happen, that like we had to leave the village, and I like, making the joke to like everybody's going to die and everything, and yep, it happened. That's exactly what happened. And we even had the like symbolic like destruction of like the tunnel behind us. Like there's never going back.
Not this way.
There's no, can't go back.
I'm not normally a fan of the "my parents are dead" PCs, but I figured that that was going to be the quickest way to rip the band-aid off of this one. So I just made sure I had that the character, other than Malice, that the characters I had the most strong ties to in the game were the three of you. So
I tried to bring it for Dallas, man. I was thinking about. You got to realize,
Oh
like,
my god!
I was getting teary-eyed.
Yeah.
I don't think it's but I was like,
good that I brought the heat because, like, again, like, I wrote this adventure like a long time ago for 3rd edition, and I love this notion for whoever is out there listening to any of this. At the end of this adventure, at the end of Titan's Heirs, this will hopefully be compiled into a PDF and available for sale in the Dungeon Masters Guild. That was always the intention with it. I wanted to like create something I could share with other people, and I think that I love the idea of this weird village of like strange creatures. That's a very JRPG trope too, that like you go up into the mountains and find like the Ronso in Final Fantasy, like, oh look, it's a village of cat people with rhinoceros horns, you know what I mean? Like weirdness, man, just weirdness. And obviously like the Titan's Heirs, these races of stone, the dwarves and the gnomes, the genasi and the ogres, the Sasquatch. And a big part of Abrea is like, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Like the ogre mage could be like the loving grandmother, and like the beautiful elf could be like the high cleric of the evil fucking god,
I love that. I love that so much. There's like something so satisfying, especially like me being like made fun of for loving to play elves my entire life, I say. But like to have like the elves and the humans be the outsiders and like the enemies, and like us being kind of like those weird races, and like that's our normal. And now like whenever we see a human or an elf, we're gonna be like bad people.
No, exactly. I mean, there's like an inversion. I'm all about like inverting tropes. We've talked a little bit about maybe doing like another show, a follow-up. We're only 2 episodes into this thing, but the name of the show is Firelight Tales. When we're done with Titan's Heirs, we're going to run another D&D adventure in this that may not be these characters, it may be a while, but we've got quite a ways to go. I've got at least like a solid, 2 or 3 months, I think, running with these characters before we wrap this story up, perhaps. But we've talked about like coming back later in the week to talk about, design and what you think about your characters and all that. And I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things I could say about this, but I was trying to like play with a lot of these things of like, so you're the monsters that live in the mountain and like the army of humans came to kill you, like there is that whole thing too. I really love all of that. So anyway, folks, thank you all for hanging out and watching. Thank you for joining us. Anybody finding this in VODs after the fact, thanks for checking it out and sticking out for all 2 hours to listen to us wax poetic. Does anybody have anything they want to say or plug as we're going to part for the night? No.
Good time, man. A lot of fun.
Thank you for saying that was fun. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's a great adjective to describe all of this. I'm just going to do like a little cross promotion. I recorded a cool D&D podcast this week for my buddies at Post Show Recaps. I did a D&D game based on the Community episode, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, from the sitcom Community by Dan Harmon. Go check them out. Patreon.com, Post Show Recaps. It's up there. It's really good. It's a lot of fun. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a wonderful night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hello.
Good night.